guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. So I don't have anything really to ramble about at the beginning of this video, so I'm just going to jump on into the scary stories. So as usual, I have my wicked candle in here, I have my hot chocolate candle in here, and I have my new favorite creation. I have the caramel macchiato Starbucks like coffee you can buy at the grocery store that's already like pre-made, and then I mixed protein powder into it, and oh my god, it tastes so good. It tastes exactly like a frappuccino. It's wild. I love it. It's kind of high in calories though. It's like almost 400 calories, but I mean, it has lots of protein in it, so that's good. But I have been working out. I guess I do have stuff to talk about. I have been working out like crazy lately, and I'm trying to get like my protein goals every day, and I don't eat enough protein. So I'm trying to hide protein into like things that I enjoy, like coffee. So anyway, let's jump into the spooky stories. So the first story that I want to read is from this spooky Cjades section. It's from the Reddit author NachoChip16, and it is titled "The Strange Boy I Met in Mexico, Let's Not Meet Again." So this is not a paranormal story. This is just like a weird let's not meet story. So a few years back, me and my family decided to do a family trip to Mexico. For reference, I was around 12. My sister being only a year and a little bit older than me. My mom was a terribly anxious person and planned to only stay on the resort the entire vacation. As soon as we had gotten to the resort, she was explaining how something had already didn't feel right to her. The whole vacation, she expressed how much anxiety she was feeling and couldn't shake it. Although we had gone to Mexico many times and understood that we were in a great area. Since my mom was filled with so much anxiety, I didn't tell her about the weird things that were happening. The first day of our stay at the hotel, I noticed this other family. A mom who looked like she had too much plastic surgery, and a dad that was super tattooed wearing massive amounts of jewelry. I'm not trying to sound negative about their appearances, I just wanted to note that. A son that was at least 18 and a younger girl who was maybe a year or two older than me. I noticed right away the older boy kept looking at me. Weird thing is, I'd catch him staring across the pool and he wouldn't look away even if I would stare at him right in the face. I feel like any normal person that was caught staring would feel embarrassed and look away to avoid the situation. But he didn't. He'd just keep his gaze locked on me. It made me uncomfortable, but I tried to brush it off as just him zoning out. After a few days of this, I started asking my family to go to other pools or the beach attached to the resort in order to escape the feeling of being watched. Every time we got up, they started to follow us, staying far enough away but still oddly close. It got worse throughout the next couple days. Instead of just the son following me, the whole family would move to wherever we decided to go. Another weird thing was on the fourth day, I didn't see them at the pool, but at a wedding on the resort. I didn't think anything of it until I realized I never noticed them speak to anyone on the resort besides the staff, which I believe if you were at a destination wedding, you'd have friends and family hanging around and spending time with you. As I stated earlier, my mom was dealing with a lot of anxiety. She never let us out of her sight, which was odd at first because we've been to Mexico where we've gotten lots of freedom. Going to the kids club by ourselves, going to the buffet by ourselves, things like that. But this time, it was like she was glued to us. Due to her anxiety and my dad having health problems, we decided to cut our trip short. On our second last day there, my dad had to spend the night in the hospital, which was pretty far away from us. My mom tried to allow us to enjoy our last day because we were already informed that my dad was fine and just needed to be monitored. So we had decided to go down to the pool for the last time. Little to my surprise, the family was already there. And there they were, staring at me. It made my stomach turn. It was like nothing could draw the boys' attention away from me. We got to the pool, me and my sister just chatting with my mother when she decided to step out of the pool to check on my father. This was the first time she had left me and my sister alone in the pool. I'm not kidding. As soon as I was out of my mother's sight, the younger girl with the family immediately approached me and explained that she was approaching me on behalf of her brother. She said, "I'm sorry, I don't speak English very well," while speaking to me in perfect English. Started asking me for my phone number and where I was from. I told her I didn't have a cell phone and I froze and I just said Canada. I didn't give them any specific information because stranger danger. She insisted I must have an email or anything and kept pushing. My mom saw what was going on and immediately came up and she walked away without saying another word, which is weird, especially if it was just a young girl just trying to make friends. After this, I told my mom everything that was happening, and she had already noted that the family was pretty weird and having weird-like behavior. They didn't seem to interact with each other, and the father mostly spoke to the staff and others. It just felt odd. During my mom talking to me, they left the pool, and we never saw them again after leaving the next day. Even though this doesn't seem at all that scary, it really reminds me of people who do trafficking. I feel like they sent to that little girl because they felt like we'd feel more comfortable being approached by her. So to the weird family I met in Mexico, let's never meet again. So that is a really odd story and really like odd behavior from that family, especially because the family didn't seem to like interact at all with each other, didn't interact with like any of the other people at the resort, only interacted with like the staff, and went to a wedding but like didn't actually speak to anyone at the wedding. That's really fucking weird. I'm glad that you had the stranger danger vibes and like your mom stayed in sight and she even like noticed it was really fucking bizarre. So that is really fucking creepy, and I'm glad that nothing actually happened, but that's still really scary, and I agree with you. Let's never meet again, because that behavior is just fucking weird. And I agree, that does remind me of like trafficking, and that's scary. So just like, oh my God. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your story. I'm glad that you're perfectly okay and nothing happened to you, but oh my God, that's terrifying. I fucking hate that. So the next story that I want to read is, we're going back into paranormal stories, if Reddit will open. This one is from the paranormal section, and it's from the Reddit author Hello Sandman, and it's titled, Something in My House is Mimicking Voices and Whistles. So for some context, I live in a 2-story house by myself with my cat Noodle. When I first moved in about 2 months ago, this place didn't seem creepy or haunted in the slightest, which is surprising because I'm usually very scared of sleeping in a house alone. Starting about 3 weeks ago, there have been a couple instances of hearing my voice mimicked back to me from another room or downstairs, most of which I just brushed off as my imagination because they were so quiet. I always say, "Hey buddy," to my cat in the morning. So when I heard a very clear, "Hey buddy," from behind the closed door of another room, which was empty, I took it more seriously. That has happened a couple times now, from different areas of the house. The person who was staying at my house to take care of my cat while I'm away this week just told me today that he's heard his own whistle mimicked back to him from downstairs in the morning. He does a very specific whistle to call the cat. He grabbed his keys and left immediately. I have had plenty of paranormal experiences throughout my life, but I've never had to handle it alone. This is making me scared to go back home and be alone at night. Does anyone have any advice or similar experiences? Update. Apparently my kitchen cabinet opened on its own. Hopefully he can film it if it happens again. Another person was over with him to feed the cat this evening, and they felt uncomfortable near the doorway to my room. So this is all just great for my stress levels. And that's how they end with the story. So that's fucking creepy. I don't know what I would do if something mimicked me. Like, I am home alone right now because my boyfriend is out of town. And if something fucking mimicked me, I would literally pack my shit and go to my parents' house. I would not stay here. That's so fucking creepy. I hate that so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your story, but I don't have any advice for you. I would probably move. That's terrifying. I hate that so much. Oh my God. The next one is from the True Scary Story section, and it's from the Reddit author Isabel_512, and it's titled, My House Was Haunted. So this happened when I was a kid and my family and I lived in North Carolina. Our house was surrounded by woods, and there was only a few neighbors around us. Every once in a while during the night, at around midnight, I would lay in bed because I couldn't sleep. I felt a creepy vibe, like something or someone was watching me. Sometimes I would hear footsteps coming from the attic above my bedroom. It sounded like someone was walking around. I went outside my bedroom into the hallway, and everyone in my family was asleep and the doors were closed. So I went back to my bedroom and closed the door. As I was laying in bed, I heard the footsteps in the attic. Then I heard something fall in my closet. I was so scared that I ran into my parents' bedroom and I woke them up. They were confused at first, but then I explained to them what I heard. My mom and dad said it was probably just my imagination, and they didn't really believe me. They walked with me back to my bedroom and looked around my room, and then they went inside my closet. There was a board game that had spilled over on the floor. It was at the back of the shelf on the top of my closet, so there was no way it could have fallen without someone pushing it off. My parents helped me clean it up and put it back on the shelf. They said that there was nothing to be scared of, and then they put me back in bed. They went back to their bedroom, and a few minutes later, after they left, I heard someone whispering something. It sounded like it was calling my name. Then I saw a shadow that looked like a person walking across the hall by my closet. I thought it was a ghost, and I started freaking out again, and I grabbed my pillow and blanket, and I went to sleep on my parents' bedroom floor. After that, I slept on their floor for a few more nights. Eventually, I did go back to sleeping in my bedroom, and I would lay in bed again at around midnight, and I would start to hear the footsteps in the attic, and that continued every once in a while until we eventually moved out. To this day, I still don't know what or who that was, but it freaked me out. Oh my God, that would scare the shit out of me. I hate when parents don't believe their kids. Like, if they're terrified and they're hearing something and they're seeing things, and something literally fell in your room with like no reason or rhyme as to why it should have fell, your parents should believe you, because that's fucking creepy. But thank you so much for allowing me to read your story. I'm glad you moved out of that house. I would have too. That is so fucking scary. The next one that I want to read is from the True Scary Story section, and it's from the Reddit author character-raccoon421, and it's titled Walmart Cleaner. One of my first jobs I had was an after-hours janitor at Walmart. I worked from 9:30 p.m. to 6 a.m. When the manager got there, I would leave. Now, I was typically with 2 others, but it varied every few nights, and I was alone. One of the only things I found creepy was that the warehouse downstairs was the same size as the actual Walmart. We had to go down there to grab the soap to run the machine we used to wash the floors. We barely had to go down there as there was a few left out for us. But one night I was there alone, I had used all the floor cleaner, and I had to go down to the warehouse to get the soap. I already had an eerie vibe to it, pretty dimly lit honestly. I walked over to the soap. This was around 2 in the morning, and I still had quite a bit more time. I was grabbing the soap when I heard echoed footsteps. I was the only one there. I walked out of the aisle to see what looked to be a mid-20s male. "Who are you?" I yelled at him. He said his name was Josh, that this was his first night on the job. He was told to look for the other worker to get some assistance, and was told that the warehouse was where we got soap, and also where the break room was. I was creeped out, but he seemed legit. He knew the manager's name and answered all the questions I asked him. We started working and everything was going fine. He took an hour break at 5, pretty much to get out of work early, and he would see me tomorrow night. The clock hit 6, and as soon as my manager arrived, I asked why he didn't tell me about Josh. He looked confused. "The new night shift worker," I said. What he told me made the hairs on my neck stand up. There was no new night shift employee. You were working alone all night. Was someone here with you? A police report was filed, but to my knowledge, nothing has really come up. I quit the job the next day, and I never went back to that Walmart again. That's really creepy. So I'm wondering if someone was just like pretending to work there, but like at the same time, they knew the manager's name. They answered like all of your questions. So was that like someone that used to work there and then like passed away, and it's just like their ghost lingers at that Walmart? Or I have no other explanation. That's fucking terrifying. That's so creepy. There's no way somebody would like know your manager's name and answer all of those questions if they didn't actually work there or worked there in the past. That's so fucking scary. Oh my God. I don't know what I would do. I would quit too. Yeah, that makes the most sense. I'm glad you quit. So this one's from the Spoopy Cjades section, and it's from the Reddit author NoSecret7867, and it's titled Haunted Apartment in Georgia. This happened a while back when I lived in these raggedy apartments in GA with my family, my mom, dad, grandma, and 2 siblings. During this time, both my parents worked at a Mexican restaurant that stayed open really late, which meant we were home alone with my grandma pretty much the whole day. One night, my brother, grandma, and I were all in my parents' room watching the Bernstein Bears. They ended up falling asleep not too long after. I was still awake enjoying the show when I noticed something creeping into my room. It was a man with burns all over him, and he was signaling me to come over to him. I froze, and I could physically feel myself getting cold as if I was going to pass out. I woke my grandma up, and she bolted up to check out the tiny apartment, but she didn't find anything at this point. So I'm in tears explaining to my grandma that someone was here with us, and he wanted me to go with him. I don't think I slept that night. After this incident, weirder things kept happening, and not just to me, but my dad and grandma started experiencing things too. My grandma had a makeshift room in the dining room, and she said that when she was sleeping, someone came and sat on her bed and said, "Ya league," which translates to "I'm here." She stood up to turn on the lights, but there was no one there. She said she physically felt the bed go down as if someone had sat on it. My dad also mentioned that when he would nap on the couch, he would hear kids running around and screaming, but there would never be anyone there when he opened his eyes. My mom was really good friends with the people who worked in the office of the apartments, and she had mentioned everything we had experienced. The lady told her that before we moved in, the past resident was an older woman who had passed away in her sleep in the apartment we were now living in. The woman was also good friends with the older woman, and she said she would always mention how she always felt like she was never alone in that apartment. Thank you for reading my story, and I will definitely be adding more stories because I have a lot to share. So I would love to read more of your stories. If you have more stories, please send them to me. If you watch this video, please send me more of your stories because that's really interesting and that's really creepy. But I'm interested to know if anything else happened in that apartment, because seeing somebody with like burns all over your body like a ghost is terrifying. But then the fact that your dad, grandma, mom, like everybody else started to have experiences too is really freaking creepy, but really cool at the same time. So this is where I'm gonna end the video because we're already at the 17-minute mark. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this. If you guys have any scary stories that you want to send me to read on the channel, it could be a scary story, a paranormal story, a let's not meet story, just any creepy story in general that you want me to read, please feel free to reach out to me either over email or Instagram DMs. All of my information is listed down below in my description box, and it's also in a pinned comment at the very bottom. If you made it to the end of the video, please leave me your favorite flower emoji, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.